As a kid, he witnessed his mother biting the dust and couldn't do anything about it. But years later, he returns and decides to take justice into his own hands. During a trial, young Yong is devastated. He's there because he lost his mother after she was attacked by Sung-soo, a cold and cruel man. Yong witnessed the entire attack and couldn't do anything to help his mother. This way, he became an orphan in such an abrupt and horrible way. During the trial, when questioned about why he did it, Sung-soo tells the judge he has mental problems. As a result, he is sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. Upon hearing the sentence, Yong disagrees because it's too little for what the man did to his mother, and it's evident that he claimed mental issues just to escape a longer sentence. Because of him, Yong no longer has a family. Sung-soo leaves the court, but before he looks at Yong and gives him a smile. 12 years pass, and Sung-soo is still a despicable guy. He attacks a bus driver before getting off the vehicle. While walking down a dark alley, Sung-soo realizes he's being followed. He stops in the shadows and waits to see who emerges from the darkness. After a very short time, his pursuer emerges from a dark corner and goes after Sung-soo, who is about to find out if there's bread in heaven. After this attack, the world is rid of a man who doesn't think twice about taking a mother's life in front of her son. After delivering the justice he waited years for, Yong returns home, enters, and sits in front of a photo of him with his mother, taken when he was still a boy. He stares at the photo for a long time. After all the tragedy he has experienced, Yong understands that justice doesn't work in some cases, and that's why he decided to handle many situations of this kind in his own way. And the way he found to do this is by locating those responsible for heinous crimes and judging them, what gives him a sense of accomplishment beyond merely waiting for the law to do its job. Shortly after avenging his mother, Yong goes to a class at the police academy. Yes, Yong acts as an urban vigilante, and at the same time, he studies to become a police officer. This ensures he has access to privileged information about all kinds of criminal activity, and furthermore, he also understands how police officers operate, all of which facilitates his vengeful side. Yong attends a class at the police academy, and the one teaching is Jun, a police officer with many years of experience. Yong pays attention to what he's teaching, and when he has the opportunity, he asks Jun why some serious cases are not properly punished by the law. Jun replies that sometimes it's due to lack of evidence, and sometimes some police officers may have been bought to act against the law. After the class, the officers go to judo practice because the school ensures both theoretical and practical training, the kind of thing that will help the officers when they hit the streets. All the students train, but Yong fights so well that he stands out and catches Jun's attention. The experienced officer comments to a colleague that Yong is ready to hit the streets to solve crimes. When the fight ends, it's time to go home because at this academy, students can go back to their homes on weekends. Yong gets on the bus and is checking his phone when he's hit by a bag thrown by his playful friend, a guy named Wook. They both travel on the same bus and Wook sits next to his friend and starts chatting. In the front seat is another friend of theirs, Jun. The three are very close as they study in the same place and also sleep together in the academy dorm, so they spend a lot of time together during the week. And when it's time to take a break at home, they all hop on the same bus. After the trip, Yong arrives in his neighborhood and walks calmly. After all, if anyone messes with him, it's the other person who will regret it. As he walks, he shows that he gets along well with good people and even helps an old lady on the street. He's the kind of guy who keeps to himself, and if you leave him alone, he's a good neighbor and maybe even a good friend. On that day, Yong is in a good mood until he gets home and starts watching television. The news shows that 2 guys went after a third, and this attack ended very badly, with the guy seriously injured. He felt terrible and ended up in the hospital. The 2 attackers were tried but released and are already back on the streets. Yong finishes watching the news and then goes to the computer. He conducts thorough research and manages to locate the addresses of the 2 guys. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, these same men are targeting a new victim, the wife and child of the guy they previously attacked. The woman is inside her house with her son, trying to keep it together, but the 2 disgusting guys keep demanding that she open the door for them to enter. She's scared and tells them to leave. The 2 push the poor woman's patience so much that they even urinate in her house, on her sink, her pots, on everything that's there. While they're doing all these bad things, Yong arrives and goes after the 2. When he's done, those 2 guys find out if there's bread in heaven. But Yong doesn't stop there. When he gets back home, he researches a surgeon who took advantage of his patients when they were unconscious. This surgeon harmed several people and filmed his actions. After his crimes were discovered, the surgeon only got 6 months in prison, and worst of all, he didn't lose his medical license. So he kept doing the same things. When Young arrives at the surgeon's office, the guy is preparing to attack a patient. Young breaks the surgeon's hand and tells him to stop doing these things. Young promises the surgeon that if he continues with these actions, he will come back to finish the job. The next day, a journalist named Choi walks hurriedly because she's very excited about what she discovered. She enters her boss Yoon's office, and he is stunned when he finds out that some people watch the video to the end, but forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. So, not to be one of those people, Choi is excited because she made a groundbreaking discovery. She tells her boss Yoon that she found out there's a mysterious guy delivering justice on the streets of Korea. She says he's a vigilante who keeps his identity hidden but is helping the unfortunate, and that's a hot topic. Shortly after, Choi's discovery has the success she hoped for as the story airs on television. The news exposes this new vigilante, talks about the things he's doing, and asks residents what they think of the situation. What are their opinions on the judgments the vigilante makes and the way he handles situation? This story is a huge success. The news about this mysterious man who avenges all those who have been wronged spreads throughout South Korea, causing everyone to have their opinion on the matter. Many people say they feel safer knowing there's someone dispensing justice for them. That's the opinion of a good portion of civilians. But police officers don't like the idea of this mysterious vigilante. On the news, everyone is happy because the report of this new vigilante has brought a lot of media attention to them. The success keeps growing, and everyone wants to give their opinion on the matter. All the journalists are very excited, especially Choi, who is proud of her work and very optimistic. She believes all this hype will continue because she thinks the vigilante will act again soon. Choi is the type of journalist who disguises herself as a defender of the people, the person who came to show the injustices of society and try to help. But in reality, all she wants is the most shocking and bizarre news to fall into her lap so she can get more attention, more audience, and more recognition at work. In other words, the sensationalist journalist who spares no effort to get what she wants. At Young's house, the mysterious vigilante, he continues his hunt for crimes that didn't receive severe punishment by the law. He searches a man who lost his life in a car accident. When he arrives there, the man's wife is crying, and the guy who caused all this tragedy is kneeling, asking for forgiveness. He apologizes several times and promises not to drink before getting behind the wheel again. As the guy genuinely seems remorseful, Young doesn't take any action against him. While Young forgives the guy, the journalists can't forgive the boredom that has taken over the city. They believe that something explosive would happen over the weekend, as it always did when Saturday and Sunday came around. Remembering that Young acts on the weekends because it's when he's off from the police academy. Journalist Choi ponders and decides that the best way to force the vigilante to strike again is to give him a case. So, she conducts research, diving into all brutal crimes from the past, and brings to light a case from 2015. In this case, a guy named Haeyoung did not receive a sentence according to his crime. As soon as the news airs, the population becomes outraged and a protest takes place in front of Haeyoung's house, as the press also disclosed his address, intending for the vigilante to go after him. Young sees the news on television. While this protest is happening, people living in the same building as Haeyoung start yelling at the protesters to stop disturbing. At night, Young sneaks out of the house, and Choi and Yoon are on his trail following his vehicle. However, as they pass by a parking lot, the two journalists lose Young's vehicle because several identical vehicles appear. The next day, the police decide to raid Haeyoung's house since the protests won't stop. But when they enter the residence, Haeyoung isn't there, and according to information, he fled to the port. The police then go to the port and start searching for him. Quickly, Choi and Yoon arrive there too, ready to report anything about the fugitive. While most of the police are at the port searching for Haeyoung, 2 police officers are assigned to stay at the homes of Haeyoung's victims, in case he decides to pay an unexpected visit. 2 officers are at the door of one of the women, victims of Haeyoung, but one of them is called to go to the port as it's proving difficult to find Haeyoung. So, while only one officer is at the woman's door, a very suspicious delivery man approaches. The officer asks him to take off his helmet. The man pretends to comply but attacks the officer. He throws a liquid in his face, leaving him stunned, and meanwhile goes after the woman, who opened the door because she heard all the commotion. Hung was disguised as a deliveryman. He was the one who attacked the officer and takes the woman to the stairs of the building. There, he confronts her because he thinks she's the one who brought the whole story back to light. Before he can attack the woman again, Young appears in his vigilante disguise and goes after Haeyoung. When Hyung is more down than up, the Vigilante orders him to write something on the wall. Shortly after, backup arrives. Several police officers rush up the stairs, ready to help the woman victim of Hyung. But Choi takes the lead and manages to get there first. She looks at the wall and smiles. On the wall next to Hyung, who has now become a t-shirt print, there's a message that says the Vigilante will judge the wicked and unjust. While the journalists cover this fantastic news, Hyung is already outside, wearing different clothes and walking calmly, as if he were an ordinary person. He made the promise that he will act as a judge because he doesn't trust the justice system in South Korea. The news about the mysterious Vigilante takes over the newspapers again. Most people still support him because the Vigilante is helping the underprivileged. That image of the message written on the wall is circulating on all news channels and has become the Vigilante's trademark. While the population idolizes him, Incheon's police chief is furious with the situation. He even declares the Vigilante as the most wanted by the police and sends officers in search of him. The investigations don't progress much because it's evident that the Vigilante understands how the police operate. While the police scour the last place where the Vigilante acted, a girl approaches them and says they shouldn't be hunting the Vigilante. After all, the population feels safer with him than with the police themselves. Meanwhile, at the news station, Choi tells the other journalists that the goal now is to create sensationalism, expose various heinous crimes from the past, and bring them all into the present because this increases the chance of the Vigilante appear. At the police academy, Young is training with his friends on the treadmill, and the hot topic arises. Wook says the Vigilante is a focused and skilled guy, and jokingly, he even compares the Vigilante to Young. At this moment, Young doesn't say anything, as he really is the Vigilante. The news starts, and here comes another horrendous story. The theme of the day is about this guy named Yop. He made an entire family, including 2 children, become memories. To make things worse, Yop managed to shift all the blame onto a minor, and it was this guy who paid for his crime. Young watches the news, and from his gaze, it's already evident what he's planning. As soon as he's alone, Young goes to the police academy's computer and starts doing research. He finds out that the young man who was blamed for the crime usually hangs out at clubs. Later, while on the bus heading home, his 2 friends agree to go to a club, and Young sees his opportunity to continue his plan. Young tells his friends he's also going to the club, which surprises them since going to that kind of place isn't Young's thing. Arriving there, a girl takes Young to the counter and they drink together. But Young doesn't take his eyes off 2 guys who are talking in a corner of the club, and they're precisely discussing that crime that was reported on television. Young knows those 2 are his targets. Well, that was my analysis of the first episodes of the series Vigilante from 2023. If you liked it, comment here part 2. So I can bring the continuation of this series. We're together, hugs from Henrique. Mission accomplished, over and out.